would you like to actually start using your psychic gifts so you can actually do psychic readings professionally, and actually how to kind of grow yourself as a medium? We're here today to talk to you about some of the tips and tricks and some of the problems that we've had or issues we've had doing tarot reading and doing psychic readings professionally. So I'm here with Third Eyed Lion, and he is going to talk about his experience as well, and I'm going to talk to you about mine. Hello there.
Hi, and just to let everyone know, Violetann is in the UK. I am in America. All of this stuff should be based on the country. There's different laws in every country about being a psychic. And if you want to be professional, there's taxes and laws and other things that come along with that you need to know from your own country. So just take what we're saying as a baseline and apply it to the laws and systems of your own country.
Yeah. So what's one of the things that you think when you started doing psychic readings professionally, actually for payment, compared to when you were just doing readings yourself? What was some of the pitfalls that you felt like you had?
Yeah, so I set a goal for myself was to give 100 free readings before I started doing any paid service. But about 50 in, people wanted to start giving me compensation because they valued what I was doing. And so as I gave my readings, I already had people who wanted to pay me that I was saying no to. And I finished all 100. I stuck to it. So I went to Facebook groups, forums, anywhere I possibly could to find people to give free readings to. I just wanted to find a practice, find a way of doing it. And a big issue I had was finding those people, was having people to learn with, to get to a point where I felt like I was a confident service provider. And that was my goal, was to know what I was doing, to know the consequences of doing a good or bad job, so I could really be an ethical person. The main thing that I struggled with was writing my own system of ethics, just seeing this is right, this is wrong, because I had to learn through experience. I had to do the thing, realize I didn't want to do it again, so I could build my ethics. And that's what any new reader kind of has to do. You have to do something once to realize you don't want to ever do that again. But if you never did it once, you can never make that choice. And so I had to find my own ethical path. And once I did, I noticed that it was always shifting and changing, and I was getting new perspectives. I was never locked in. It was just at a point where it could be grown from.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. That's one of the reasons why, as readers, often people have certain questions or certain areas that they won't read for. And it's because, like, either they don't feel comfortable or they don't feel like they could give an accurate reading, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so
And
to speak on that quick, I will happily share. I give 3 disclaimers for all of my paid readings. At the beginning of all my readings, I say 3 things. And before the reading, the first thing is the United States law states that this reading is for entertainment purposes only. Everything I will say is for entertainment. I'm not a legal, medical, or financial professional. Any questions on that topic will not be answered. Next disclaimer is this reading is silly, serious, but always sincere. If you think I'm being silly, if you think I'm being serious, yes, I am. But I am also doing the other one, and it comes from sincerity. Third is any choice I give you, please use your intuition and creativity, not logic and reasoning. This will help amplify the reading. Do you understand these things? Okay, let's do the reading. I do this, and it took me time to develop this, but I do this as a way to fully set my service aside from other people. A lot of other readers are not willing to give disclaimers, are not willing to understand, and most of them are not willing to learn a script like I just did.
Yeah.
I wrote that out. I had a lawyer look at it. I had everything approved, and then I memorized it. I have it completely memorized, but I can say it in a way that is memorized but authentic. To each person, they feel like I'm saying it to them, even though it has been memorized and I'm saying the exact words every time. That is the only part of my reading that is memorized. Everything else I do comes from intuition, but that part of it is how I begin my service. And I recommend everyone find your own disclaimers, find your own things that are okay and not okay, that you want people to know that these are things I'm willing to read, these are things I'm not willing to read. This is the nature of the type of reading I'm providing that you may be ready to, or may be completely different than what you experienced before.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's one of the reasons why, like, I think we all have to have healthy boundaries. And, like, personally, I don't like to do pregnancy readings. I know people, like, really get popular about them. So one of the reasons why I don't like to do it is because they are just a bit of a minefield. Because somebody could say to you, am I going to get pregnant within the next 12 months? And you might say yes. And they go, oh, you weren't a very good psychic because I don't have a baby. And it's like, you could have easily have got pregnant within the last 12 months and not known about it, and it just was like only pregnant for a day, you know.
Yeah, and I had to learn that. So the reason why I don't do any health readings was the second reading I ever gave was someone was on fertilization therapy to have a kid, and I saw the baby being born, and so the baby was born, but the baby died 2 minutes after birth, and the person was upset at me,
Yeah,
for not telling them that the baby was going to die.
yeah.
But I saw nothing. I just saw the baby being born. I didn't see anything after that.
The thing
And
is, the gods might have held
so,
that back a little bit because that
yeah,
would be awful
I
to
was
carry a
just,
baby
I was
knowing the baby
just,
would die.
yeah, and I was just beginning. I was really just starting. And so I decided that I don't want to do health questions, and I consider that a health
Yeah.
question. And so, and same with legal and financial. I've given people those answers before, and I realized that that is not what I would like to do. There's other questions I would like to answer.
Yeah. I mean, like
And
things
there's
like
plenty of
even,
readers out there that have no issue doing that.
yeah. I mean, like, even just down to the whole, like, is my baby going to be a boy or a girl? And it's like, you might say, I think it's going to be a boy, or I feel like it's going to be male. But it could be a, you're picking up on energies. So it could be somebody that's born physically as a female. And then later on in life, they transition into a male, you know, and you don't know for a good 20 years or something, you know, you know, or you might even never know if the person is too afraid of rejection or something like that to transition. You know, it's so murky. It's too murky to do readings on.
Yeah, but that's our perspective. There's, like I said, there's people who have no issue doing
Yeah,
that, and they make a good business off of just doing baby readings. Like you said,
yeah,
there's some people I've seen that's the entirety of their service.
yeah,
They get called to baby showers, they get paid to do baby showers, and all they do is baby questions.
yeah. But it's
And they go
definitely,
to the baby shower. One person asks, "What's the gender of my baby?" The next person asks if I'm going to have a baby. The next person says, "Is my baby going to have a baby?" And then, everyone's.
yeah. I mean, it's
And
definitely having
that's
your
so
own
different.
boundaries.
Yeah. So, and that's one thing, is just try to find something that you're passionate about. That, like, I first started giving people readings on aliens. I was in a lot of channeling communities. I knew a lot of people who wanted messages from aliens. So that's what I began doing. And over time, is people want messages from the ancestors, so I learned how to do that. People wanted messages from the deities, so I learned how to do that. And mediumship is something I've always learned and loved myself. So being able to find things you specialize in, that it's not that you don't do the other things you do, but that there's certain things that you do that others don't do.
Yeah.
That should be mentioned.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to like say no to somebody if they come in and say, oh, can you do a reading like this? And it's not, because that is the problem when you're first starting out. You feel like you're pressured into taking a reading
Yeah,
on that you might not want to do, and
yeah.
having to say
You
no.
don't have to say yes.
Yeah. Having to say no and learning how to say no when it's a type of reading you don't want to do or you feel uncomfortable doing, you know, being able to say no, basically.
Yeah, and one other thing is in America, I don't know if you have it in the UK, but there's signs in certain businesses that say we have the right to refuse service to anyone.
Hmm. I mean, yeah,
Always give yourself that right. Always say you have the right to refuse giving a reading to anyone at any time. Don't take that away from you. You have that right, and it should be protected. And in most countries, it is protected.
yeah.
And the countries in which it's not, it's probably illegal to give readings in the first place. So,
Have you ever turned anybody away?
yeah, multiple times, many times, and I always refer them to other readers.
Yeah,
There's always people I know that will do the thing that I refuse to do because I'm friends with people who I disagree with.
yeah.
I'm a type of person who have a lot of friends who have ideologies I don't fully agree with, but I respect them and I allow them to be who they are. And if somebody wants something from me that I don't want to do, I know exactly who to send them to because I respect that, even though I am not that.
I mean, a lot of the
So
time,
I probably turn away maybe 2 out of 10 potential clients.
I mean, a lot of the time I've had to say, like, if it's, I have a disclaimer on all my where I have my listings for private readings and stuff that says no medical and no like um pregnancy readings and that kind of thing. But um I've had to refuse like doing a reading for somebody before who had basically paid for a reading, and this was on Etsy, had paid for a reading on Etsy, had the reading, and then basically reversed the payment on it. So like they made Etsy give them the money back basically, and they came back a week later and wanted another reading. So of course I wasn't gonna do another reading for them after they had basically gotten
Got a free reading.
yeah, basically. So I had to I cancelled the order and said, look, I'm sorry, I've just cancelled your order because you'd had an order from me before. You said you didn't like it and you said you didn't like the quality of my readings. So, you know, I don't want to do another reading for you because obviously you weren't happy last time, so you're not going to be happy this time. So I have like barred people before because of that. Usually with like, if it's a topic I don't do, 90% of the time people will say, oh, can I have a reading about this instead? Occasionally there's been like 1 or 2 people where they've had to cancel their order. I've refunded them and it's been fine. But yeah, sometimes I think the worst thing is when you get a client who is being abusive to you basically, because the reading came out not how they wanted it. And they've had a few like that, abusive people. Like
Yeah, I've also had clients where no matter what I say to the reading, they're not going to take accountability in what's going on.
oh yeah,
And they're going to blame it on whoever they can. And because they paid me, they feel like they have an excuse to blame it on me.
yeah,
Even though that they didn't listen to a single thing I said and they didn't take any steps that I suggested and they didn't hear any words of advice or encouragement I gave. They and life is bad and everything's bad and they want the money back for a reading, and I have multiple times said it's 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 not like I'm paid. If you see a movie and you didn't like the movie, for the most part you're not going to get refunded.
yeah,
But if you show up 5 minutes and you're like, man, I wanted to see that movie but I'm in the wrong movie, they'll probably give you the money back.
yeah,
And that's why I make certain at the beginning of my readings with new clients, that this is a type of person that is wanting to benefit themselves. This is just for me. I don't give readings to people who were not better yesterday than they were the day before.
yeah,
And I'm a person who, if I can tell somebody is going to be better tomorrow than they were today, I will give them the reading because they're making steps to better themselves. But if I can immediately tell that they're the same as they were yesterday, that they're going to be tomorrow, I just will say, please, these are some other readers I recommend you go to. I recommend them to you mostly, but
so that's why I keep on getting the horrible ones. I'm kidding.
not,
Um, No, I had this is not connected. This is like on like because I do readings on different platforms as well. Like I did one on Fiverr and stuff. And I had some ones where people were literally abusive. Like somebody asked, they're in another country from me. Somebody asked, are me and my this guy gonna get back together, basically? Sorry, are me and this guy gonna stay together long term, basically? Um, and I had to give them the truth, which was no, I feel like this is gonna be a short term one, unfortunately. I always try and sprinkle in some positivity there. So even if it is a shit reading, like I will specifically pull cards on like the next good relationship instead. So if I have to tell somebody, look, this relationship isn't gonna be long term, but you're gonna meet somebody else to 6 months down the line that's gonna give you a good relationship, you know. I try and pull something positive at the end, so it makes it a little bit of a nicer reading to go down. Um, but like I'd done the reading for the person that said, look, I'm really sorry. I don't feel like it's going to be long term. Tried to be nice about it. Tried to be nice about like saying, you know, it's experience and stuff like that. They turned around to me and said that I was ugly and that I was fat and that I was just jealous because they were hot and that I'm not hot and that I was jealous that they had a hot boyfriend.
And you've never seen any pictures of any of these people?
No, they sent me pictures of each
Oh.
of them because sometimes people send that to connect in easier. I don't particularly need that, but it helps a little bit. But yeah, and I was like, I don't care. You're also presuming I'm straight, you know. um, but yeah, so that was weird. That was very weird. Yeah, I've had that before. That was like weird, and it was because the person didn't want to accept the fact that it wasn't going to be long term.
Yeah, so I noticed a lot of potential clients, people who want readings and are willing to pay for them, that's all they're willing to do. And that's all they want is to have someone tell them that everything is going to happen and they don't have to do anything. I I can sense that pretty quickly. I've worked on seeing auras and seeing intention, and I have meditation practices I do before all of my meetings with clients or readings, so I can get in that right mindset where I'm receptive to what's going on, and I can usually immediately just sense the energy's not right, and so I recommend them to either like a paid service, California Psychics, or other things that might help them that would be more beneficial for that type of addictive reading,
Yeah,
because I all of my readings produce a dopamine response in the person getting them. I know it. By me giving someone a reading, how I speak, what I say, makes you feel good somehow, some way. That's addictive. That makes you want it more and more. It is up to me, and I think a lot of respectful readers, to understand that the service is addictive in nature. It is up to us to really find the right people who don't need it to make their life better, but wanted to get confirmation or wanted to get clarity or wanted for that extra, but not all. Like a lot of people just rely on it for everything.
yeah. I mean, like that is the danger with it is that you shouldn't. You should use it as guidance. You should not. You should remember that you've got freedom of choice. Like, and the biggest problem I have is when people say, "Am I destined to be with this person?" And it's like going to like the whole concept of before we were born. Like we have a roadmap. If you imagine like our life is like you know, a traveling across America in like a car or something like that. You have your roadmap, you have your like these are the steps I want to make along the way. But you might go completely off track and go somewhere completely different. You know, you have the freedom to take that car wherever you want, you know. So there is no concept of it has to happen. Like spirit can nudge you along the way so you can meet these people, but you still have the choice of whether or not you be together. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I completely agree. And one thing that I think a lot of readers should always remember is all prophecy is either three types of prophecy. It's either a pure prophecy, meaning that is is abstract and no one knows what it truly means. And then you have a self-fulfilling prophecy. By getting the prophecy, it has to happen because the person has very little free will, and they given up the free will to the person who given them the prophecy, and then it's forced to happen. The chosen one prophecy.
Yeah.
And then you have the self-denying prophecy. By getting the reading or the prophecy, it will immediately not happen because a person has so much self-will, and they will like, no, I don't like what you said, I will go completely off of it, and none of that will happen.
Yeah.
And that's a self-denying prophecy. By receiving the prophecy, it cannot happen. And then the self-fulfilling prophecy is by receiving the prophecy, it must happen because of lack of will.
Yeah.
And the old Greek form of prophecy is no one really knows what it means until it happens. And then once it happens, everyone's like, oh yeah, that's what it meant.
Spirit does like to play games with you sometimes, though. Like I've told you, I think I told you about the M&Ms thing before, didn't I?
Yeah, spirit speaks through symbols.
Yeah. So for those of you watching, basically I have Chris, my brother, around me all the time. And for about a month he was running around eating M&Ms all the time, which is weird because he usually doesn't sit eating anything. He's sitting eating M&Ms, and I was like, where the hell have you got M&Ms? He was like laughing because he's like, oh, you'll see. Anyway, months go by, and I meet this guy and start dating him. We're chatting online, we're chatting over like a voice call and stuff, playing some games together, and he's eating, and I go, oh, what are you eating? M&Ms. And this guy, whenever I come on, I didn't tell him about the M&Ms, but whenever he came on, he was eating M&Ms. They like to play games, they really do, because I don't know, I think it's because they find it hilarious, but they'll give you some weird things, and I think sometimes that's the hard part as a reader when you're first getting into it. If something weird you pick up on psychically, you pick up on and get told about, it might mean nothing to you, but it might mean the world to that person. So you might see a blue bicycle or something like that, and to you that means nothing, it's absolutely random, but to the person you're doing the reading for, it, like their grandfather rid a blue bicycle every day and it's hugely important or whatever, you know.
And it's even like, to get a little more granular, is the exact phrasing. You may think that this word isn't important. You may think it's weird that you said it that way, even though you normally don't say it that way.
Yeah.
But what you don't know is that Uncle Donovan said it exactly that way the day he died. And that is profound. How did they know how to say it that way?
Yeah.
But just because, and you could be like, I never use words like that. I've never said that ever once before in my life. I just said it now.
Yeah. I mean, we can try and sometimes we try and make meaning to the things that we're given, and sometimes it's better to just say how it's given, because sometimes you can end up, by you trying to translate it into something meaningful, can make the message be lost, like you said, like it changes the actual meaning of it and it stops it being as pure as it should be, kind of thing.
Yeah, and when it's pure, it's just magic. It's just unexplainable phenomenon that people like. I feel divination is one of the last forms of professional mysticism that is like holds this undeniable factor, maybe up there like puppetry and music, where when you experience it, some part of you just changes. You surrender to the aspect of what's happening. But it's just understand that there's, in every career path, in every profession, there is people who are unethical, unqualified, and deceptive.
Yeah.
It is, and they are taking a good 25% of the market share in every single business in the whole world. 25% of the market share is unethical businesses in that field, and it is your choice to be part of that or to not be part of that, but to not, like, I feel like we don't have to fight against them by just being the best we can be. It is being like the alternative by choice. People will see it over time, and I get a lot of my clients say, oh, I've never had any reading like what I got from you. I've been getting readings from 10, 20. One of my clients has been getting readings for 50 years from multiple different readers, and she comes to me now exclusively as her main reader, and she says in her time of getting readings, nobody reads tarot like I do, and she likes how I do it, and that's one of the best compliments I've ever received, because every reader does it differently, and some people like certain styles. They like how different people talk.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think it just comes out over time as well. Like, time is your biggest ally. That if somebody's giving messages about how their ex is going to get back with them all the time, yeah, sometimes you do get back with your ex. Sometimes there was a reason why you had to be split up and then come back together. But if people are only giving what they think the person wants to hear over and over again, they're going to be like true like a couple of times, but 90% of the time it's not going to necessarily go that way.
Yeah. A broken clock is right twice a day.
Yeah, basically eventually it's going to come out, and eventually it does come out in time. It's just giving it time, and I feel like that's one of the issues that sometimes people get a bit frustrated with. It takes time to build up. I get frustrated with it as well. Like, you know, whether you're doing it as you doing your own shop, or whether you're doing it as like a social media platform like YouTube or Twitter or whatever, it takes time to build up, and it's partly for you as well, I think, because there is certain, if you were given fame instantly, you probably wouldn't be able to cope with it. Or if you're given 1,000 clients every day instantly, you wouldn't be able to cope. You know,
Yeah, it's the reason why it's called a ladder to success is because each rung is important. No one ever says I'm taking the elevator of success.
yeah,
Man, that escalator of success, it was great. No, it wasn't, because you didn't do anything. Nothing happened. But when you take the steps and you try and you fail and you make things, so I used to do a lot of live streams. Now I do pre-recorded content, and I had to learn from experience. I did a lot of them. They
yeah,
still exist. They're still up. And if those readings were important to someone, I'm glad.
yeah,
But I don't do that anymore. And the people who want me to do my old videos, uh, I'll tell them that the old ones will not be removed, but I will not do any more of that. And please respect my want to change. And in the future, if I change, I might make a sequel to one of my videos that got 2 views. That's up to me to do, and up
yeah,
to me to decide at the right time.
yeah. But you, like, dealing, knowing how to deal with the trolls, getting into a pattern, getting into a rhythm of recording and stuff. I mean, even without considering all the other things, like for example, like just getting used to like messaging people back on time so you can give good customer support, like
Yeah.
loading them on time, that kind of thing. Having a pattern of how you upload and send them out so you can get those done efficiently and quickly, and also just so you can get a good quality reading, because obviously like the main thing is important is making sure like the read you're giving a good reading, but it's also, it is a form of like enjoyment and entertainment for some people. So making sure your camera's nice, making sure you know you've got a nice backdrop, all that kind of stuff is things you learn over time, and going
And
through that
don't beat
process.
yourself up if you don't have all of that at the beginning.
Yeah,
Like, if do what you can with what you have, and then set aside some of your revenue or money that comes in from readings to go back into making the readings better.
yeah,
If just 10% of the money that comes in gets set aside to make it better, within a year you're going to completely transform from where you are to where closer to where you want to be by just that 10% that we don't even think of. It's just a small amount over time that's really not being taken away from you, that you're actually giving this growth that a lot of us want to have at the beginning. Not everyone has that.
yeah. And I mean, like, one of the things is just energetically as well. Like, when I first started doing readings for people, I'd do like 3 or 4 readings and I'd be exhausted and I could not do anymore. Now because I do loads of like live streams and stuff like that, I've built up kind of my energy kind of thing a little
Your
bit. So like,
stamina.
yeah, my stamina to kind of keep going and do lots of readings, but I still have a breaking point, and I know that it sometimes it just gets to the point where I've done too many readings and I need to just go off and just chill
Yeah,
and regenerate.
that's a really good topic. I think we should go a little deeper in. Is like know your own body, know your own energy battery, understand where you're at, how to recharge, how to really like see your charge level, and to check yourself in the middle of whatever type of service you're doing, and think about, okay, how I'm going to be if this happens for another hour? How am I going to be if this happens for another five
Yeah.
minutes? Just ask yourself these questions because you know the answer intuitively. And when the time is right, listen to it. Oftentimes, when the time is right, is actually wrong. We feel like we should stop, but we're in the middle of something,
Yeah.
or oh, it just started, or this person just paid, or whatever. Just honor yourself and have the maturity to say, I need to stop, know how to end the readings in a kind way, and say, if someone just paid, okay, let's reschedule this for another time. And if not, well, then they're not the right person, for they're not the right client.
Yeah.
And just understand that you want clients that respect you. If your clients immediately don't respect the choices you make out of self respect, they're probably not the type of clients you want because
If you're exhausted, you can't give
provide the
readings.
service.
Yeah, you can't give good readings if you're either sick or you just physically you've used up all your energy. You can't give them anymore. Comes to a point where you won't be able to connect in properly. So you have to give yourself respite.
Yeah. And there's one topic on this I really want to talk to you about, Violetann, is so both you and me do what would be considered experimental divination, type of divination that is not tarot, dice, coins, or the common mirrors that are used.
Yeah.
But I think as a professional, people come to a psychic for tarot and oracle cards and palm reading. At the end of the day, we just need to know that the four things people pay a psychic for is zodiac, any type of astrology, any type of cardiomancy, ocularly like seeing crystal balls, and palm reading, palmistry. Those are the four types of divination that are mostly paid for. But Violetann uses oculomancy or hydromancy. You can see through water or reflective surfaces. I use pyromancy or fire divination. And I study the runes and the druid Ogum. I study old types of divination and new types of divination. It's often hard in your services to just do the thing that no one else is doing. I recommend you learn something that other people do and do it in your own way.
Yeah.
Meaning learn the tarot, but don't read it like the tarot. Read it like the other things you're learning to do. If you do aviomancy where you can see the future based on your pet parakeet, that's fine. But learn how to read a deck of oracle cards that are bird cards, because by having a service similar to what you do, that other people is more mainstream, is more accessible, it will allow them. Because a lot of my clients came to me with tarot, but when they found out I do runes, they only want runes now. I
Yeah.
have a few clients that don't want anything other than the runes because I'm the only reader who's giving rune readings that they know of. They can get a tarot reading from, Tom, Dick, and Sally, but they're not going to get the rune reading from them.
I
So
mean,
that's something I think all readers should. You're. It's great to have your own thing, but learn the main thing that everyone else wants and just do it your own way.
one thing to be understanding about is the fact that, yeah, people will come for the top favorite ones because they understand what it is. They've heard of it, they've seen it before, they understand what it is. And sometimes people aren't willing to experiment, sort of thing. One of the weirdest ones I ever had though was actually I've had it a couple of times. It's rare that it happens, but people asking you for a reading but saying that they don't want to hear about the energies. And That really confuses me because people like, I don't feel like they understand that the power is not in the cards, the power is in the medium. These are divination tools because they are tools to help you connect to the divine. So you're
I
always
think
going
of
to
it
hear
as
reading.
a lot of people think of the readings as speech, but what it really is translation of a language.
Yeah.
And it's not, you're not speaking, you're translating. And so people who are not attuned to it, they have a hard time respecting it. And I have family members who believe that all psychics are crooks and frauds. Every person who is a psychic is a criminal who is taking money from unsuspecting individuals. This is what my family believes, and they told this to me to my face, and I've given my brother who believes this a reading. I gave him the disclaimers like I said before, and he was completely surprised. Yes, some of my reading was accurate, some of it wasn't, but at least at the end he was able to see that there is ethical professional psychics, and
Yeah.
not all psychics are unethical grifters. Some people just believe that, they were raised to believe that, or they experienced something to believe that. And that is a bias that we all have to overcome, is that some people will think we're unethical just because we're psychics.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's kind of going in a segue of like trolls and stuff, whether it's people just trolling you, messaging you, or on the social medias and stuff like that. Unfortunately, unfortunately, I got to the stage where it's a bit troll, somebody just trolling, somebody just saying that, you're evil or whatever. I
Yeah,
just block them now. I don't even have bother to have an argument, because if somebody has a point of view like that they are 100% convinced that this is their point of view, you're never going to convince them. If somebody's on the fence, then yeah, you can talk to them through it. But if somebody's coming in to troll, to be offensive, to be nasty, to tell you're evil, all that kind of stuff, it's just not worth the time anymore, unfortunately. It just drains you. And
yeah,
that is something you have to deal with, is just going, look, they're just doing this because they either think it's fun or that they've got the wrong idea of things, and there isn't anything you can do other than just block them and move on, and just being able to just shake that off. And unfortunately, it is one of the things of having to have like that empathy, but also tough skin as well to be able to deal with that.
yeah. And just have goals. Just like set out goals where is you want to achieve these things, and when that negative person or someone comes to attack or whatever, know that your goal is what's more important. Because when those attacks and when those things happen, they're going to happen, but if you focus on your goal, then that's not going to stop you. That's actually going to motivate you, because that's a sign that you're on the track of your goal, or they wouldn't be saying anything in the first place. You
Yeah, I mean,
and I had to learn that recently, and I reached out to Violetann, and she gave me a good perspective. Is that oftentimes the negative things people say to us are most likely what they believe to be true about them, or are true about them that they don't want to believe,
yeah,
and they really are these terrible things they say to other people, but they don't want to look at the mirror and see that.
yeah.
And by seeing it that way, and also know that that's a small handful, that's not even the majority, that is a tiny minority within the group that thinks that.
I mean, like, I had it like around Christmas time. I had it like somebody randomly just post on my thing saying that I shouldn't be doing this because it's a waste of my time, because I'll never make any money from it, because they didn't make any money from it and they give up tarot. And I was thinking, I did this when I was 8. In no shape of my head ever did I think I would actually be making money from it. I started when I was like 8. I started doing tarot when I was 8. I didn't even like start my YouTube channel until I was well into my 30s. I didn't ever think it'd be anything for money. Like, I had quite a good job as a programmer. The only reason I don't do much programming anymore, I do freelance programming still, but because I actually wanted to spend more time doing something that fulfills me emotionally, which is what tarot does, even though if I wanted to make lots of money, this is not a profession to necessarily go
Yeah, this is
to for that, you know.
yeah, this is not like a lot of readers are not going to get popular unless you want to make your own deck and make your own book and make your own uh service where people pay you to teach you how to do things your exact way.
I mean, like,
And
if you wanted to make
there,
money,
there's
go do
only a
spell
certain
trading.
yeah, like the example is, someone like Doreen Virtue is they create these programs, they sell it, and then years later they say, well, that whole program, I don't believe in it anymore.
Yeah,
Don't do it. Do this one I'm doing now.
yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, but that's a type of industry where there's no oversight of psychics. There's no psychics are not part of the Better Business Bureau. There's really no ethical governing board of peer review of psychics,
Yeah.
and it is up to you to make your ethics and know that what you think is ethical, someone else thinks is unethical, and what you think is unethical, someone else, that's their entire business, and that's all they ever do. So it's just our it is a kind of a prism. It's all different based on which way you look at it, and just kind of have your goals, have what you want to achieve. My long-term goal is to normalize untraditional forms of divination. And I will continue to do that. And I think I've achieved some of it, but I have a lot more to achieve. And those are the type of goals I think work best for psychics. The type of goals that you can have a little bit of now and know you can have a lot more of later.
I mean, the best example I can think of is take, for example, carers, or take, for example, nurses or something like that, where
A caregiver.
you're doing a job where you're not necessarily going to get paid that well. I mean, they're not necessarily going to have very good hours, but you're doing it because you love the outcome of it. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why you should be getting into psychic readings and stuff like that, is because you enjoy the fulfillment. Like, one of the best things I feel like is with clients is I've had a client before who, when they first came to me as a client, it was like a video call, and they were in the car, they were crying, and they were really, really in a bad way. And I talked to them for a while, helped them to see things in a new perspective. When they came back to see me, like about a week later, I think it was a few days later, basically, and they were doing a lot better, a hell of a lot better. And then, like, they slowly came back less and less, but each time I saw them, they were doing better, they were brighter, they were happier, and that's really fulfilling. That
Yeah,
something.
that's exactly what I want. I
Yeah,
want a client that I see less over time. Eventually, I never see them again,
yeah,
because that means that they have moved past my services and they can help themselves
yeah.
completely. And that's a really good is process. And I like what you're saying. And it's like Violetann and other people is find businesses that exist, other people who are doing something similar to you that you want to. She is on these other platforms. If you want to get there, look at people, see how they're doing it, and learn from them. See a little bit. I don't like to consider myself a teacher. I consider myself a tutor. But a lot of people have learned a lot from me that I've never thought to teach them. By just doing what I do, people watch me and be like, oh, I could do that. Oh, if he did that, what if I tried this? I like doing bracelet readings. I've seen a lot of people do earrings readings or ring readings because of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Charm readings, just because they saw something I did and they were like, oh, maybe I could do that. I've never seen anybody do a fire reading. What if I did a wax reading? And it's these different things. A lot of divination has existed. There is literature on almost every type of divination you can think of. It just is up to us to research it and to learn from it, because it doesn't do any good how much knowledge you have if you're not able to apply it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, one of the things to remember as well is, I think with like doing it as a business, going a little bit further into the business side of things, is trying to get a certain level of good service, basically. So you put some quality, you put some time into making sure the reading is easy to hear, concise, that kind of thing. Giving, like I said before, giving good customer support and stuff like that, and treating it like, you know, being dedicated to it. And I'm bad at this as well. Like, I need to do more uploads and stuff like that. But getting into a schedule of going, okay, this is the time I do my readings. I'm on there.
Consistency.
Yeah, I'm on there consistently, and I've fell off the bandwagon more times than I want to admit with that, with
Yeah,
uploading.
consistency is not easy. We're not claiming that it is.
Yeah.
We both work on it, and my goal is consistency. So I set a goal to release 365 videos this year, and I'm not limiting myself to one a day or anything. I just to get all of them, and it's just learning is when you set a goal and you fail, don't give up. Just learn from that failure. Say, okay, well, I tried it this way. That didn't really work because of this and this. Next time, I'll still have the same outcome, but how I get there is going to be different.
Yeah. I mean, that's one
And
of the things I try and pride myself on, is
the
how can I
business
make
plan
reading
is
better?
yeah, speaking of businesses, come up with a business plan. Just really write down, okay, this is how much time it takes me to set up. This is how much time it takes me to provide my service. This is how much time it takes me to recover.
Yeah.
How can I monetize these in the best way? What is the best plan for me to expand over time? What are the things I want to do but I can't do right now? And just write it all down and know that it can change, but as a good business plan, it is something that if it does change, it still aligns to the plan you created.
Yeah. I mean, like, as for like pricing and that, like, it's so easy to underprice yourself sometimes. Like, I have a bad history of that, of underpricing myself, but it's kind of like, I don't want to overprice myself because I want it to be affordable. I want it to be affordable, but in the same breath, if you underprice yourself, you're going to get silly questions like, I hate it when I get repeated questions. Like, sometimes, because I do a lot of free readings, I get the same question over and over again. So like when I was doing, like, I'd be online to do free readings every single day. Like every single day, somebody would ask about the same person again and again and again.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
same. When I was doing daily live reading, it becomes a joke that people watch my videos know that when this person comes, they're going to ask about this other person. And everybody knows that I'm going to give you the same answer, that this person is not really into you and you should probably find someone who is, but you don't want to hear it. And it happens every day.
Yeah. And it's times like that, you have to kind of politely say to the person and say, look, maybe you should leave it a little bit of time between asking, or maybe you should try a different aspect to your life because that'll kind of help you, kind of thing. Because it's not healthy for anybody. It's not healthy for the person who's fixated on the answer, and it's not good for you either because it gets so monotonous.
Yeah, and you don't you're not allowing your reading to actually do what it's supposed to do,
Yeah.
is because they're closed-minded to what you say, because they've got, if that happens, I'll probably tell you that person is going to other readers 100%.
Oh
If
yeah.
somebody's asking you the same question again and again, they're most likely asking that question to other readers. Don't feel bad if you don't want to answer it, because I can guarantee they will find their answer whatever way they can from someone else.
I think that's why there used to be an old wives' tale about tarot saying that you should only have a tarot reading every month or something like that. And I feel like it was because of they had too many people asking the same question again and again. You know.
Yeah, one of my mentors is you should not see any client more than once per moon cycle. Every single client should only be booked once every moon cycle.
But
And
I don't
I,
mind
I
like
work really
different
good with that.
questions. Or if it's like if somebody asks for a general reading and stuff like that, I don't mind. Like if they just come in and ask for general readings, or they ask for different questions or something like that, I don't mind. It's literally when they ask the same question over and over again about, is this guy going to come back, or is this guy going to be with me? It gets so repetitive. It's not helping them. It's not helping anybody.
Yeah, and it's the phrasing, right? Is if the phrasing is, will this person do this? that means they're not giving any power to themselves. But if the question is, what do I have to do to make this happen? I will answer that question every day, all the time, because you're actually wanting to do something to make it better. But if
Yeah.
you're asking me when will this other person do something, I'm going to kindly recommend you to another reader, because my type of readings, like I've said before, are personal development based. If you don't want to develop yourself, I'm not the psychic for you. Please find someone else. I'm someone who is a coach, who is someone who inspires other people for betterment, because I have a lot of powerful people in my life who do that to me. And I would like to be that service provider to do
Yeah.
that for others.
I mean, coming back again to just pricing and stuff, one thing people have to consider when they price things up, people might go, say for example, it's 5 minute reading, and you go, oh, you're getting so much for that 5 minute reading. You might get like $5 or $10 or something for that 5 minute reading, and that's all they see. A 5 minute reading does not take 5 minutes. It takes longer
No.
than that, because you've got to factor in a few different things, like for example, the cameras, everything else, your electricity, all of that needs to be replaced at
The
some point.
operation cost.
Yeah. So the building that you're in, all that kind of operational costs has to be factored in. Then you've got taxes on top of that. Then you've got the consideration of the reading may be 5 minutes, but you're going to spend at least a couple of minutes, like at least probably like about 5 minutes, replying to the emails, sending the emails off, sending the readings off, etc.
Yeah,
Then you've
you're
got,
talking about a detailed cost breakdown.
yeah, and
I,
then you,
I think every business should have a detailed cost breakdown. You should really look at how much every little thing is probably worth and cost, but you don't have to do it right away. Come up with a cost that works for now, and then use that as the baseline and to compare against,
yeah.
and and see what other people are getting paid. Because the thing is, because of Etsy and a lot of these paid services, you can really see how much psychics are charging now. Before, if you were doing readings in the 80s, it was probably pretty hard to see how much a psychic was charging.
Well, the
But
other
now
thing
it's
is as well is
easier.
if you're if you're using, I'm not going to name names, but if you're on what they call psychic hotlines, and I do use them because they're a great way for you to, because obviously if you're doing your own shop, you get a high percentage of it. So if you have your Etsy shop or you have your own shop, you get a much higher percentage because the operational costs are very low, but you have to then advertise it. So you've got to either spend money posting up ads somewhere or physically just posting them to groups or whatever. You've got to find a way to get people to your website. So whether that's doing free readings on social media or whatever to get people to see what your reading style is, etc. Whereas if you're using, say, like the psychic hotlines, they take a much bigger percentage. So a lot of these psychic hotlines, it might be like, say, like $15 for a reading, but you only get like $4 of that or $5 of that. You only get like a quarter of that. And that's quite common, like just getting a quarter of the amount you charge, basically. So if you can go direct to a psychic, go direct, because it is terrible with the hotlines. Like they
Yeah.
really take a lot from people, way more than Etsy.
Yeah, and it's also, I'm trying to lean my business into a party psychic, somebody who gets booked for events to do social readings or to do private readings at parties. And that is how I want my business to be, which is atypical. Most psychics just do one-on-one private sessions. I would like to be more of a social psychic, and I'm leaning towards that in my business plan, in my business licenses that I apply for, and all the things that I'm working towards. And it's good. Don't be afraid. Like you may think that there isn't business coaching for psychics. There's a lot of professional licensed financial advisors and tax agents who specialize with psychics. You just have to do a little research to find them, but they are out there, and this industry is an industry, so there is people who specialize in helping people in the industry.
I mean, sometimes things can be a little bit like you can take what you know from, or take what people know from other industries across. Because if you think about it, like I've done a Zoom party before, which was really fun. I did one of those before, that was really fun.
I have to. Those are great.
Yeah, but like if you were doing it as a physical thing, going to a party and doing it, and an example would be like, okay, how does a DJ do it? For example, like a DJ gets booked for the party.
Or
They're
or a
that time.
children's magician.
Yeah, so there's lots of resources out there to help you with that as well. But it's just like taking those and transferring them, because obviously it is a business, and you've got to consider that it's not just 5 minutes of your time to do the reading. There is the recovery time, but there is also all the admin stuff, all the boring admin stuff that nobody sees, and also the advertising to get more clients and to get that original client as well. So
Okay, I think we kind of touched on everything. Is there anything else you want to mention here?
just basically, if you want to do this, make sure, as we said before, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Make sure it's because you love doing readings and you want to be able to do that every day. Because the age-old saying is, if you love what you're doing, you never work a day in your life. But if you don't like what you're doing, it's going to be hell, basically. So make sure whatever you're doing it because you're enjoying doing it. Was there anything you wanted to add, or?
Well, just know that there's uh, I, there's a little adult language, but the idea that there's the four oldest professions, being the fisherman or hunter, the farmer, the the escort worker, and the psychic, or
The
the
shaman.
mage or the magi, the shaman. Yeah, and so the, that's the first service industry is psychics. Psychics are one of the oldest known service industries in the world, but it is the most discredited and wild west of all the service industries. So just I recommend research to anybody. If you really want to be a professional psychic, know there has been ethical and unethical ones. Do the research and decide which side of the coin you want to be on.
I hope that
That's
helps.
all.
I hope that helps you all out. So if you would like a reading with either of us, I think we're both doing private readings as well.
Yeah.
Um, the details for mine will be down below. And where can they find the details for your readings? Is it just on your channel,
Yeah.
or?
Yeah, on my YouTube, it is in the bio of the YouTube. You can find all the contacts to me there.
And I will add in the link to Third Eye Lion's channel as well in the description down below. And please let me know if you've got any comments or any other topics you'd like me to do a session about down below. So take care, everyone.